Hello and welcome to Conway Conversations, a webinar from Jack Conway about all things real estate. I'm your host, Carol Bulman, and our goal is to provide a deep dive into important and timely topics surrounding the buying, selling of residential and commercial real estate. We will highlight benefits, dispel myths, and provide opportunities. Friday is Veterans Day. And this evening, we will discuss housing and financing opportunities for members of our U.S. military. Before we start, I'd like to thank the members of our U.S. Armed Services, those of many who are with us this evening. I know I speak for the entire community here at Jack Conway Company when I say thank you for your service, your sacrifice, and your continued commitment to the United States of America. We have an information-packed program for you tonight, and we're really thrilled that you could be here. To lead us in conversation, I'd like to welcome our three expert speakers. First, welcome to Jennifer Harding. Jennifer is the Vice President of Business Solutions with Leading Real Estate Companies of the World, or LeadingRE. LeadingRE is our national and global referral network, and Jennifer has firsthand experience with a program called Military on the Move, offered here at Jack Conway in partnership with LeadingRE. Welcome, Jennifer, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
With a wealth of experience and knowledge in mortgage financing, Kevin Richardson, president of Conway Financial Services, has assisted thousands of buyers with the purchase of a home, and he will walk us through the details and benefits of using VA financing to mortgage a property. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks for having me, Carol.
Good to see you. And finally, a special thank you to top sales agent and member of our Jack Conway Mansfield office since 2016. I was dating you, Nancy. Nancy Lamothe. Together with her husband and her 4 children, Nancy is a resident of the city of Attleboro. And I say 4 children, but during hockey season, your family gets a lot bigger, right, Nancy?
Yeah, that's correct.
Nancy is a host family for many hockey players in her area, and she's got a busy household. So we'll be jumping into our conversation tonight with the who, the why, and the how of VA financing. And we're going to start off with Kevin to give us the basics and a review of who is eligible for VA financing. Kevin, can you walk us through that?
Absolutely. So when we look at VA financing, who's eligible, we're looking at active military personnel, honorably discharged veterans, as well as disabled veterans, eligible reservists and National Guard members, and then also unmarried surviving spouses of a veteran killed as a result of service-related activities. So really, in the time of service, it's a borrower's length of service and their service commitment, their duty status, and their character of service that ultimately determines their eligibility for home loan benefits.
So I'm a veteran. I'm not a veteran, but if I were a veteran, why would I want to use my benefits through the VA to finance a property?
There's so many great benefits to a VA mortgage. The top one that most people always talk about is that there's no down payment required. There's also no need for private mortgage insurance. I have a whole list of them really that we talk about all the time. So private mortgage insurance on most loans is required when a borrower puts down less than 20%. On a VA mortgage, a borrower can finance 100% with no mortgage insurance. It's also a lifetime benefit. So you can use a VA loan more than one time. So you can use it as many times as you purchase primary residence. It's a little bit easier to qualify as far as, allowing higher what's called debt to income ratios, a little more credit flexibility. There's also no income limit. So a lot of 100% financing programs out there have maximum income limits that borrowers have to meet. It doesn't matter on a VA loan how much you make. And also a borrower does not have to contribute any of their own money, so they can use gift funds for down payment and costs. So it's really just a great benefit that's available to our veterans and active military personnel.
It's really great. There's a lot there, Kevin, and certainly I would think many veterans are aware that there's benefits here, and just the 100% financing in itself is huge. Without do they pay private mortgage insurance? Generally, when a regular borrower is buying a home through conventional means, they would need to pay mortgage insurance. Is that correct?
They would, exactly. So no, one of the major benefits of a VA loan is that there is no mortgage insurance required, even when the veteran only puts zero, puts no money down. What a VA mortgage does have is what's called a funding fee. And that's basically a one-time payment to the Department of Veteran Affairs. It supports the VA loan program and generates money to fund other loans. It doesn't get paid up front, but it gets financed into the loan. The only exemption to that is if you have a veteran or an active member who's at least 10% disabled, they would be exempt from that funding fee. So it's just an added benefit for someone that was injured while serving our country.
Okay, all right. And important point there, you mentioned the funding fee can be financed. So the veteran would not have to take that money out of their pocket along with their regular closing costs.
Correct. Yeah, they would finance it into the loan. So I can just quickly, for a first-time use and a borrower who is not disabled, the funding fee is 2.3% of the loan amount. So for example, if a borrower was going to finance $300,000, 2.3% of that would be $6,900. So that borrower's loan amount would become $306,900.
And again, could be waived.
Correct. If they're 10% or more disabled, then that funding fee would be waived.
All right, that's good information. Before we move on over to the housing for a bit, Kevin, if I'm a veteran, how do I find out if I'm eligible?
So really what we're going to do is a veteran can do it on their own as well, but the borrower is going to have to get a copy of what's called their military service record. It's called a DD-214. And either they or they can have their lender do it, but they're going to submit that to the VA for what's called a certificate of eligibility. That's basically a document that confirms the eligibility for the veteran or active member. It also details if a funding fee is required or if they're exempt from that funding fee.
All right, great. That's excellent. Kevin, I'm watching the questions to see if we have further questions on that. But for now, I'm going to move over to Jennifer to talk to us a little bit about this really incredible opportunity that we have in partnership with leading real estate companies in the world called MOM, which is an acronym for Military on the Move. Jennifer, could you walk us through that program and how it benefits our customers?
Sure, absolutely. So Jack Conway is a member of Leading Real Estate Companies of the World, and it's a network of all really just independent, like-minded real estate companies. And many years ago, Leading Real Estate Companies of the World recognized, what an impact and how much our military does for the defense of our country and wanted to give back. And so U.S. Military on the Move was born. And as you said, it's called MOM. It's a real estate program that's offered by our top independent real estate companies who are experts in their local markets. It was really created as a special thanks to those who have served in the military. And so if you are buying or selling, or someone you know is buying or selling a home and qualify for the benefits through the Military on the Move program, the agents at Jack Conway have the experience and the reputation to deliver really superior real estate service and special rewards to folks that have served in the military. So it's a way for us to give back to those who have served our country. And I'm so happy that you all are part of that network. If you haven't visited usmilitarionthemove.com, I would encourage you to do that to see all there is to know about the program. But it's a great program that Jack Conway offers to folks in your market.
All right, great. So Jennifer, can you repeat again where someone could find out a little bit more information?
Sure. It's usmilitarionthemove.com.
Excellent.
And this program is available to, like I said, those who have served in the military. So it's available for active duty military. It's available through Jack Conway for folks that have retired with 20 years of service to our country. And it's also available to wounded warriors. So there's a lot of people in Massachusetts that would qualify for this program. I just wanted to share a couple stats with you. So in the state of Massachusetts, there's 315,000 veterans, which is incredible. And there's actually 23,000 people currently serving in the military, so active duty serving in Massachusetts. And the majority of those folks, 52% of them are serving currently in the Army, 36% are in the Air Force, and only about 8% are in the Navy and the military. But all branches of the military qualify for this program, not just full-time active, but also the reserve component, so reserve and National Guard. And your state in Massachusetts, Massachusetts ranks number 6 in the spending on national defense, $21 billion, which is incredible. So you guys have a really strong military presence, and this is a great program available to folks in your market.
Wow, that's really good information. I wasn't aware of that, Jennifer. And, you know, we have worked with many, many veterans over the number of years. My father, Jack Conway, was a veteran himself. There's very few Conway offices that do not have an American flag out front. You know, it's something that we put as a real priority. So thank you for sharing that. You know, before I move over to Nancy, Jennifer, your son is also serving. He's in the National Guard. Is that correct?
He is. He's in the South Carolina National Guard. And Kevin, I wish we'd have talked a couple of weeks ago, because he was in the market looking to purchase a home with a VA loan. And it was interesting, the processes to go through to get his DD 213 and trying to get the proper paperwork. And so I wish I'd have listened to you a couple of weeks ago.
That's great. And hopefully there's a lot of people listening tonight that we can share, because it sometimes seems like that's one of the hardest part, is just finding all the paperwork.
That's right.
So Nancy, you are a realtor with our Mansfield office. You do a lot of business. I know how seriously you take your role in servicing your buyers and sellers. And interesting stat here, you've actually closed 4 transactions this year, provided homes for 4 veterans using this Military in the Move program this year. So obviously this program is really important to you. Share with us why it's important.
Yes, so I want to first thank you for inviting me this evening. I feel very grateful and fortunate that you've given me this opportunity. I actually grew up on an Army artillery base. So from a very young age, patriotism, appreciating our military and our armed forces was a very big part of my life. My father was a veteran. He was an active duty military for several years. And then now I have a daughter who is currently serving active duty Army in South Korea. She just left last week. So it really is a very near and dear program to my heart. I feel that at the very least, this is what we can offer, and this is what I can offer as a realtor with Jack Conway and associated also with leading real estate companies of the world, to be able to offer this type of a program to my customers and my clients, I feel is a huge benefit, not only to them, but to also their friends, family, loved ones, anyone that they may know that could benefit from something like this, because especially during these times, it's very difficult to purchase a home. And if there's anything we can do to assist them, this is one of those things that I really feel is very, very strongly about.
It's amazing. First of all, I learned a lot about you just now. Nancy. That's incredible. I didn't know about your past and your dad. I did know your daughter just left. She just left for Korea. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So we wish her safety and all the best. And I know she's gone for a year, so we'll be thinking of you.
Thank you.
So this is near and dear to your heart. How do your customers find out this is important to you? And so and what drives them to wanting to use these benefits, and what type of benefits have they received?
One of the things I do when I initially meet or am referred a customer or a potential client, I sit down with them and I have a conversation. In that initial conversation, one of the things I do is I discuss an overall picture of what services I provide to them as a Jack Conway agent. And I also, in my daily living, and it's kind of incorporated in all of my social media, people who know me know that I am a mom agent, because it's just a part of who I am. It's ingrained in my identity. But I sit down initially with my customers and I explain to them, if you are either active duty military, if you're a veteran, if you are a wounded soldier, those are things, if you feel comfortable discussing with me, I have a product for you that I think it would be extremely beneficial. One of the things I do is I really promote the fact that, in the end, I'm actually looking for their best interest, and whatever program that I feel would be in their best interest, I'd like to offer to them. And so it's right up front. I explain to them, I do a lot of, it's on my business cards. It's just a matter of part of what my makeup is. And so most people that either hear about me or know of me, they will automatically, if they hear someone or know someone that is military, they immediately will refer them to me.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, here at Jack Conway, we have a group of realtors, and you're one of them. That is a mom certified realtor. So MOM, again, for those of you who are listening, stands for Military on the Move. Not just mom. Nancy's also a mom. Busy. You've got to go through a certification process. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
and
what's involved in that?
When I became a Jack Conway agent, I attended one of the first certifications that I wanted to do was the Military on the Move certification. I wanted to understand, it's more than just understanding the product. For me, I wanted to understand where these military service people are coming from, what their backgrounds are, get a better understanding for where they have a need and how we can fulfill that need. And so part of this certification process, it's a one-day certification process. There are things that we learn about the military, and even me growing up in a military background, in a military household, there were a lot of things that were new information to me. So I felt that it was a very invaluable experience for me to actually sit and learn and be able to then provide this service to my clients.
So that mom certification has meaning. It's meaningful.
Absolutely. Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the benefit to your clients utilizing the mom program.
So one of the things that I've noticed, especially, as you mentioned, I closed 4 deals this year using Military on the Move. 2 of the clients did not even know that this was a product that even existed until they met me. And they were very, very humbled, very grateful, because it did change the entire trajectory of our ability to make an offer. And in this tight market, there's some misnomers and some myths that people have, that it was such a very competitive market, especially spring and early summer. And yet you could frame it in a way, a lot of times what I encountered was a matter of educating the seller's agent, educating the listing agent, educating the seller that this is a product and a program that not only would they feel honored to actually have a buyer in this program, but it's the background of having it government backed. It's so much more valuable in the sense that from a security standpoint, from the seller's perspective, that this money is guaranteed to this buyer. So that's one of the things that I've noticed. And with my buyers, it let them keep more cash in their pocket because of the situation with them being able to do a 100% financing, 0 down payment. It really benefited them in that way. And there's some other things that also helped. One of the things that I do is I partner up with home inspectors that will give a complimentary pest inspection, because that's also one of the requirements, is that the buyer cannot pay for the pest inspection. And it's an honor for my vendors that do the home inspections to be able to provide that complimentary pest inspection for that veteran or that military, that active duty military. So I think all around, everybody in the transaction, with my 4 transactions this year that involved VA loans, everybody in the transaction, from the buyer to the lender to the seller to the attorneys, everybody felt so good about the entire transaction.
It's great. So Nancy, you've listed there's some rebate monies as a result of the mom program. Your buyers are put into a very strong position in the eyes of a seller, and you work at that. You work with your seller to make sure your selling agent to make sure they understand how strong your VA buyer is because of what's behind them through both
Correct.
the financing and mom. And then, so through all of that, you did not run into, or you generally do not run into any roadblocks with your seller, given the strong economy, the strong market, the housing market.
You are correct. I have not run into any resistance. I was able, and it's very, very important that not only did I write in my offer, sent it over to the listing agent, but I picked up the phone and had a person-to-person conversation with the listing agent, so that I had a good feel that the listing agent understood the VA loan process and understood the VA loan product. I was really, really amazed at how many listing agents I did come into contact with that really didn't fully understand the product.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like having the education that we had through the Military on the Move certification, and also having my conversations with Conway Financial and really understanding the nuts and bolts of the product truly, truly helped in that process of overcoming any obstacles.
This is really great to hear because, buyers, I think we are aware in the last couple of years, had been up against a lot of stress when it comes to making an offer, making feel that offer is that on the table is strong and competitive. And we want our veterans to be able to use the benefits that they've earned. And the fact that you've been able to work through that and put that buyer in the best possible light, the light that's appropriate. I congratulate you for that. That's really great. Great work. Your buyers are lucky to have you. Fabulous.
Thank you.
We are too, by the way. So we talked about the rebates and some of the benefits. I'm going to move back over to Kevin for a moment. Kevin, in addition to the rebates that are offered through the MOM program, which is our partnership with LeadingRE through the real estate side of our company, real estate sales, on the mortgage side of our company through Conway Financial Services, you also have an offer for people that tune into this program. Is that correct?
We do, yeah. And actually, for people that mention, that they watch this or someone told them about this webcast, we are offering an additional $1,000 off of a borrower's closing costs as well.
Okay, so I want to make sure everybody understands that. If you are listening tonight and you're a buyer, you're maybe a seller, and you have a buyer that's looking to utilize a VA loan, or you're a realtor representing a person that's utilizing VA financing, you can mention to them that they listened this evening and they're eligible for $1,000 off closing costs on their mortgage. So the MOM program is one part of it, and then the mortgage part through Conway Financial is another. So there's significant savings. Working with a Jack Conway realtor, someone such as Nancy, and we have many very experienced agents that have gone through certification. You will be put in the absolute best possible light when it comes to your offer for your seller. So I really appreciate you all going through that. That's great. Jennifer, moving back over to you, you've been involved in this program for a good amount of time, and you've seen this program make the difference in a lot of people's lives. Can you comment on an experience or something that you've seen that may not have happened if it were not for the MOM program?
Yeah, so I want to just jump in and be a little specific on the benefit through MOM. So Kevin was talking a lot about the benefits through the VA and why it's good to use your VA benefits. certainly with using qualified, certified mom agents, you get a more experienced agent that really understands the lingo of the military and working with the needs and understanding what a military family goes through when they make a move, because it's a little bit different than when we go through a move, because they have a lot of more moving pieces. But one of the biggest benefits of the MOMS program is the rebate that they receive. And so that rebate is actually a cash back that the buyer or seller, so this is available for buyers or sellers, but it's cash back, and the state of Massachusetts allows cash back at closing for the military service member that's qualifying for the MOM program. So it's cash back, and that cash back can be used for paying on closing costs, or it can be used for, you know, just receiving a cash benefit at closing. And I'll give you an example of that. When I was a mom agent, when I was selling, I had a client that I told about the military and the MOVE program. They used a VA loan. They were so happy because I really did understand the lingo, but they had kind of forgotten. I don't know how they forgot. They forgot I told them they were going to get cash back at closing. Well, they bought a house. They had lots of kids, and they bought a house that put them in a position where they weren't going to be able to really purchase some things for the house because they really maxed out on what they were buying. And I came to their house with a check, a closing check for their cash back at closing. And I'll never forget, they were saying, you know, we can buy a dining room table now. And they were so excited because they didn't have the money to buy a dining room table, and they had 4 children. And the husband said, I forgot we were going to get this money at closing. And so that was just so rewarding for me, because it was like being Santa Claus, delivering cash back to them so they could go and buy a dining room table. So that was pretty cool. So it's a great program.
That's a great story. You know, I have 4 children myself, and I remember not being able to buy a dining room table, and it took the toy room for a long time. So I would have appreciated a check after closing.
Right.
But I didn't get it because I did not serve. So it's really special to be able to have that opportunity for our veterans. Kevin, you can also be Santa Claus in this situation. So that $1,000 would come as a credit at closing. Is that correct?
It would. It'd be credited to the buyer at closing towards their costs.
Okay. And when someone's applying for a loan with you, Kevin, you go through the closing costs with them. And at that point, will you show what the savings are and where that financing, that funding fee that you talked about, like, how do you go through that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to sit down face to face with the borrower to answer all those questions and explain, you know, the costs associated, the payment that they're going to have. But we're going to provide a number of different disclosures that will show those fees, and it will be spelled out specifically the discount applied as well.
Okay, great. So important to know exactly, you know, what you need to bring to the table. And also that's something that you can provide people ahead of time. So when they're thinking about looking for a home or shopping for a home, they can have a one-on-one with you or one of your loan officers to determine that their credit score is where it needs to be, that they have the cash in their pocket that they need. You'll go through all that ahead of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in the case of a VA mortgage, there's many times where, you know, someone's getting ready to get out of the service, wants to move back, you know, they want to relocate, you know, they want to be back in Massachusetts permanently. So we'll talk to them before they've officially exited the military and they're not here yet, but kind of get them in the position to be ready to buy. So the earlier that, you know, we can talk to someone about the process, the smoother it's going to go for them, that they understand all the process, they have their credit score where it needs to be, you know, they have all their ducks in a row and are all ready to buy as soon as they're in a position and they want to.
Okay, good. A question just came in on the Q&A from Mary Talbot. She's with our Quincy office, and she asked if the process with a VA loan is longer than a standard mortgage application. Kevin, could you take that?
It is no longer. It's the application is standard to any type of loan. The only thing that takes just a little bit longer is the appraisal, and that's because when an appraisal is ordered, it's sent out through the VA, and they build in you know, an extra 5 days or so when the appraisal comes back. So the process itself isn't really too much longer because usually we have enough time to get the appraisal back while we're doing the application and getting documents and everything. But the one thing that's just slightly longer is the time needed for an appraisal.
Okay, great. Just to put that in perspective, I think we have some first-time home buyers, potential home buyers on the call tonight. How long is a standard, like if you were to meet with someone today, and Nancy, I'm going to go to you next. If you were to meet with somebody today and give them some advice, how much time would you tell them it will take compared to a conventional financing, conventional being a non-government loan?
So I would
tell
say,
them-
oh, go ahead,
Oh,
Nancy.
go
You can answer.
I usually, what I do is I pre-frame it with them and I explain to them that there is an appraisal process. And, you know, one of the other things that I explain to them is that a standard mortgage would be anywhere from 45 to 60 days. What I like to do, I'd rather build in the extra time up front and give them that expectation up front and be pleasantly surprised than to cut it too short and have a lot of stress on the back end.
Okay.
So I usually give them a minimum 60 days is what they can expect.
That seems kind of reasonable anyway, I would think. You know, it just keeps the stress down because things do come up, whether
Yes.
it's a VA loan or a conventional loan or even a completely cash loan. That's good. It takes a little stress out of it.
It
Kevin,
does.
that is a part of our job, is providing enough information to keep the stress level down, because there is a lot of information, a lot of details. Kevin, how do you advise people in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Nancy. Obviously, if we don't have to rush it, we don't want to. You know, we want the process to go as smooth as possible. And if we're really, you know, trying to be really aggressive with the dates where, you know, you're asking for trouble in some ways. So I always say 45 days is ideal. The one exception to take that a little bit further, though, is you can do a VA mortgage on a condo, but the condo does have to be approved by the VA. And that process alone is about 30 days. So you gather all the necessary condo docs from the association, and unless it's already on a VA approved list, which is, you know, you can Google that and find VA approved condos. If it's not on that list, we are a lender that will submit the condo for approval through the VA, but it does have to get submitted directly to the VA. And unfortunately, you can't say, to Nancy's point, you can't say, well, we're closing in 2 weeks, we need you to approve this one first. They're going to respond in the order that it's received, and they typically run about 30 days.
All right, that's an important point for anyone out there listening. If you are a veteran, you're planning to use VA financing for a condominium, Kevin, what's the first thing they need to do?
Build in the extra time. And
Okay.
then we're going to work with the agents and the condominium association to get the necessary paperwork, and we're going to submit it to the VA for approval.
Okay, build in extra time with Nancy or whoever their realtor is, A. B, call the loan officer, get you guys involved early on.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, I think that's really important. Nancy, did you want to comment on that?
I did. What I'd like to add is, as a realtor, one of the things I do is in pursuing properties, if my client tells me they are interested in condos, I do the research ahead of time to make sure that whatever condos we potentially could be looking at, I already do the legwork to make sure that it is or is not on the VA condo list, so I'm not surprised. And then I can reach out to the lender and explain to Kevin, hey, Kevin, just so you know, this particular condo association that we're looking at is not on the list. We haven't submitted an offer yet, but in case we do, this is the condo association that I'm looking at.
And to Nancy's point, it's, you know, when you can have that communication between the realtor, the borrower, as well as the lender, it leads to a smooth transaction.
You read my mind on that, Kevin. I thought, oh, I would want Nancy in my corner if I was a veteran. That's fabulous. There's a question here from Deb Fonger. She's asking, what is the criteria that VA is looking for in a condo? And do they ever deny one? I mean, what would be a reason for denial?
Yeah, they absolutely do deny condos. It has to meet some minimum standards. And usually that's the percentage of of units that are owner occupied as opposed to rentals is one of the big ones. The percentage of the budget, there's a certain percentage of the budget that has to be dedicated to reserves so that they know that the condo is being kept up. And if that reserve allotment is too low, that's a reason for denial. If too many condo owners are behind on the homeowners association fees, that could be a red flag for denial. If one person actually owns too many units, that's another one. Depending on the size of the unit, they don't want to see one person owns the majority of the units, because obviously if something happens to that one person, the whole building is at risk. So there's a number of different reasons, and yes, condos definitely do get denied by the VA.
It also sounds to me like they're really good reasons, and
they are, and just the
protecting
reasons.
veteran.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say is the reasons they get denied by the VA, and many times it's the same reason they'll get denied for conventional finance.
Okay.
There's too many risk factors associated with that condominium.
So there's more to think about. Nancy, it sounds like you might want to add something to that.
Yes, and the other thing is pending lawsuits against the HOA. That's a big one.
Very much so, yes.
Yes. So those are things that I look at and look prior to even going to show a potential condo. If I know I have a VA client, I specifically will do as much legwork as possible just to make sure that this is a viable solution or a potential solution for them. One interesting thing, and I'm going to defer to Kevin on this also. One of the things I learned in the process of doing all the VA transactions that I've done, if a seller has an existing VA mortgage on the property that you're looking to purchase, that VA loan could be transferable to the buyer.
It's the one benefit I actually didn't mention that I had on my list. A VA mortgage is what's called assumable. So someone, and it does not have to be a veteran, a non-veteran could actually take over a mortgage from a veteran. And they could assume that mortgage, the remaining term, and the rate that's on that mortgage.
You know, that's an interesting thing, because we're in a different interest rate environment now. And you could start seeing people advertising properties, marketing properties, saying that there is an assumable VA, or also FHA is also assumable with a certain interest rate on it. That could be a benefit for someone.
It could be, for sure.
Okay, so that's a tip for some of our realtors out there. Got some good questions lined up here. Jennifer, I'm going to go over to you for a moment. I'm a veteran. This person is a veteran, and they're looking to purchase a property in Florida. Can we still go through this process in Florida? And how would we do this through Conway?
Yeah, absolutely. So whether you are looking to buy or sell a property in Massachusetts or in Florida or Georgia or wherever it may be, because of Jack Conway's connection with the Leading Real Estate Companies of the World Network, they can help you with finding an agent anywhere across the country, across the world, and can also utilize the Military on the Move program. So whether you yourself are looking to buy or sell as a veteran, or know somebody who is, contact Nancy, contact another one of the great certified Military on the Move agents at Jack Conway to help you in another market. Absolutely.
All right, this is along the same lines, this question that just came in. If I wanted to buy a property from a different realtor other than Conway, would Military on the Move still apply? That might depend, right?
So say that one more time.
All right, so let's say I'm a customer and I'm a veteran.
Yeah.
And I want to buy a home, but I'm not working with a Conway agent. I'm working with a different realtor. Can I use the Military on the Move benefit?
Yeah, that would depend. So if Jack Conway's not involved, as long as it's another LeadingRE company that's involved in the Military on the Move program, yes, absolutely.
So they have to ask their agent.
Right, that's right.
Okay. And just to reiterate for the person that asked that question, Jack Conway Company is an independently owned company. We're not a franchise. In order for us to be able to offer our clients global reach and a lot of different products, we belong to an organization called Leading Real Estate Companies of the World. It's an organization of 575 independently owned companies, like-minded, like Jennifer said, globally. So no matter where you want to move on the globe, we can service that transaction in a warm handoff to a very qualified agent. So if we're working with another LeadingRE member, they may have the mom program. On the other hand, I do want to add to that is that the person that asked, you may be using another realtor, but you can also still use Conway Financial Services, who does offer that VA loan. That actually answers another question in here is, where do I go to get VA financing? Kevin, who offers VA financing?
So not all lenders do. The VA itself doesn't offer loans, right? Lenders get approved to offer VA financing. So Conway Financial does offer VA mortgages. We're licensed in Mass, Connecticut, New Hampshire, as well as Florida. So we can't help you in every state, but we can certainly help anyone in those 4 states.
You know, we have a realtor that's actually adding something to the conversation. This is a great point. Her name is Marie Van Slyke. She's from our Plymouth office, and she's also a mom certified realtor. I'm going to ask you, Jennifer, if you can walk us through this. You mentioned it, but I'd like you to give us a little bit more detail. She's suggesting that we dig in a little bit deeper to the fact that if I'm a veteran, I'm selling and buying, I receive the rebate on both transactions. Will you talk about that?
Absolutely. So if I am selling my house, I want to list my house with a Jack Conway agent who can offer this military on the move benefit, and I get cash back at closing when my home sells. And then when I'm purchasing another home through the Jack Conway company, then I also qualify to receive that cash back at closing on the purchasing side. So yes, you can get it on both the buying and the selling side of the transaction.
This is like a triple win.
Right.
On the
and then get a loan with Kevin. Right.
It's
a trifecta.
A trifecta, right? I love that. It's a trifecta experience. That's great, Marie. Thank you for mentioning that. That definitely needed to have an exclamation point at the end. We're also having a question. This is also from one of our realtors, Deb Fonger. She's asking if we can get the requirements for VA in writing. And you know, I think I might even jump and answer that for you, Kevin. Kevin is actually doing a 2-hour class on this tomorrow, and I'm sure he's got written documents. So Deb, if you're not attending that, I know either Trisha or Kevin can get you the documents from that. So we're happy to share anything you need to help through the process, because, you know, as I look at the clock, it's 6:43. We've got to finish up in a couple minutes. And what's really important about Conway Conversations is we take 45 minutes and we dig really deeply into one specific topic, because there are a lot of complicated products, complicated procedures when it comes to buying and selling real estate and financing real estate. At Jack Conway, we have some incredible experts to help you through the process. Nancy, Kevin are great examples of that. Jennifer, as a partner in this industry, helps us with products and programs that will help our clients save money and find the best home for themselves. But it's always best to be informed when you're going into a transaction. You know, the more you know, the more opportunities you can find, and also the more the best situation you're going to have in the long run. It also keeps the stress level down, you know, because you have that much more confidence. So in the last couple minutes that we have, I'm going to ask each of you to add one final thing that you'd like to share with our audience tonight. Nancy, I'd like to start with you.
I would say more than anything, if you are a realtor, I would highly, highly recommend you look into the Military on the Move program. It's really a program that is just, it's just one small thing we can do to repay a sense of gratitude for our active duty and veteran armed services. And I feel like for the amount of sacrifice that they give, I am more than happy to be able to offer this product to them and give them a rebate at closing. And it's such a wonderful feeling to see their faces at the closing table when they see and they realize, and like Jennifer was saying earlier, most of these people, they either forget about the rebate until closing because they just have so many things going on and so many different moving parts that's just the last thing that they remember. And then we show up at the closing table and they see the rebate and they're just amazed. And some of them don't fully understand what this rebate is because it's not something that's customary in the general real estate world. So the fact that Jack Conway and Leading Real Estate Companies of the World can offer this product to them, I feel is a tremendous benefit, not only to us as agents providing a service to our clients, but definitely for the clients.
Excellent. I love that. That's a great way to leave the audience from a real estate agent perspective. Thanks so much, Nancy. And thanks so much for joining us tonight. I learned a lot listening to you, and I know how much you do for your clients, and it's so appreciated by all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, any parting thoughts?
Sure. I think Nancy said it great, but I would say the same thing for an agent listening. I would encourage you to learn as much as you can about VA mortgages, what a great program it is for people that have dedicated a portion of their lives to serving our country. And to a borrower who's eligible for a VA loan, I would absolutely encourage you to use that benefit. It's probably one of the greatest benefits that a veteran or an active military personnel is entitled to. So they certainly should use that benefit.
And Kevin, I didn't mention earlier, but your son is also in the National Guard. Is that correct? Reserve.
My son, he went through ROTC similar to Nancy, and he was in the National Guard in Rhode Island, and then he switched to the Army Reserve. So unfortunately, unlike Jennifer, whose son wants to buy a house, my son's probably never leaving home, but he is currently serving in the Army Reserves.
That's a whole other common conversation. We'll do a topic on that.
Yeah, I got a whole long story about that. I could go on about that.
Jennifer, some final thoughts. Thank you so much for being here. We always appreciate your partnership with LeadingRE.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Nancy and Kevin. You guys are great. I echo what they say. It's a tremendous benefit for those that have served our country. But for buyers or sellers out there listening, I really, really don't want you to get lost on the fact that it is so important in this biggest transaction of your life to work with a professional, work with someone face to face, that you can see Kevin's face, you can see Nancy's face, or any of the other Jack Conway agents' faces, to sit toe to toe and know you've got an expert, because it's tough to navigate through the process with mortgage rates and VA loans and all that goes into it. Find a professional like you've got at Jack Conway and make sure that you've got somebody to hold your hand and make sure that it's as seamless as possible and that you can lower the stress of the transaction.
Thank you, Jennifer. Those are wonderful words. We really appreciate it. We're grateful for our veterans. Happy Veterans Day to all who have served and all who are supporting those who serve. And we wish you all a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.